The warning alarm screamed through the bridge of the Earth patrol ship, Indomitable. Captain Deho jumped from his chair and ran to the communications console. His heart was beating fast. Something was very wrong. "What is it?" Deho asked. His voice was calm, but his hands were tight on the console edge. Yunji, the young communications officer, looked up at him. Her face was pale. "Sir, it's a distress signal. From the Valen system. It's bad." Deho leaned over her shoulder and listened to the message. The voice on the other end was breaking up, full of static and fear. He could hear explosions in the background. "This is Valen Prime. Under attack. Unknown enemy fleet. Our defenses are gone. 3 billion people. Please, anyone, help us." Then the message cut off into silence. Deho felt his stomach drop. The Valen system was a peaceful place. Traders, families, farmers. They had no military worth talking about, just a small defense fleet to protect against pirates. "Send this to Earth Command immediately," Deho ordered. "Maximum priority, and get me everything we know about that system." Within minutes, the data came through. The attacking force called themselves the Krev Dominion. They came from beyond known space. Their fleet was huge, over 200 warships. They had already destroyed 2 colony stations. Now they were surrounding the main planets. The Velen defense fleet tried to stop them. It was over in less than an hour. Now the Krev ships were moving into position around the inhabited worlds. Intelligence reports said they would start bombing the planets in 96 hours. The message reached Earth in seconds. At Terra Station, the massive orbital platform that housed Earth's military command, Admiral Hyunjae was in a meeting when the alert came through. Hyunjae was a tall man with gray hair and sharp eyes. He had served in Earth's Navy for 30 years, even before humanity discovered faster-than-light travel. He read the report twice, then stood up. "Get me the Galactic Council," he said, "and prepare the fleet for immediate deployment." His aide looked surprised. "Sir, shouldn't we wait for council authorization?" Hyunjae shook his head. "By the time they finish talking, those people will be dead. Prepare the fleet. Now." On the council station, thousands of light years away, the emergency session was already happening. Representatives from 50 different species filled the great chamber. They were arguing. They always argued. Jisoo, Earth's representative, sat in the human section and listened. She was getting angry. "We must follow proper procedures," said the Pelthian ambassador. His species looked like large birds with 4 arms. "We cannot just send forces without proper authorization." "The authorization process takes 14 days, said another ambassador. "We have protocols for a reason." "Those protocols will get 3 billion people killed," Jisoo said. She stood up. Her voice was loud and clear. "The Valen system needs help now, not in 2 weeks. Now." "The nearest council fleet is 12 days away," said the Andrelian representative. His species was small and blue with big eyes. "Even if we authorized it right now, we cannot get there in time." "Then Earth will go," Jisoo said. The chamber went quiet. Then several ambassadors started laughing. Not mean laughter, but the kind that comes from surprise. "With respect, Representative Jisoo," said the Pelthian, "humanity has been part of this council for only 15 years. Your fleet is small, and your technology is still developing." "Our fleet is ready," Jisoo said, "and we can reach the Valen system in 72 hours. "Against 200 Krev warships?" another ambassador asked. "That would be suicide. The Krev are known to be fierce warriors. They have conquered 6 systems already." "Then 3 billion people need fierce warriors to defend them," Jisoo replied. "Earth is going, with or without council approval." She turned and walked out of the chamber. Behind her, the ambassadors started arguing again. But Jisoo was already on her communicator, talking to Admiral Hyunjae. "Do it," she said. "I'll handle the politics. You handle the Krev." Back at Terra Station, Hyunjae was already moving. The fleet had been on standby since the distress call arrived. Now he gave the order. All ships, prepare for immediate departure. Destination, Velan System. Mission, protect civilians and engage hostile forces. 43 ships began powering up. Destroyers, cruisers, frigates, and one massive dreadnought called Sol's Hammer. It was Earth's largest warship, built over 10 years with every bit of technology humanity could create. Minho, the tactical officer, was running simulations on his computer. The numbers did not look good. 43 ships against 200. Even with surprise and better tactics, it would be very difficult. "Sir," he said to Hyunji, "the odds are not in our favor." Hyunji smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a man who had made his decision and would not change it. "Minho, humanity spent 3 million years learning how to fight on a world that was trying to kill us every single day. We hunted animals bigger and stronger than us. We survived ice ages and plagues. We fought each other in wars that lasted decades. We learned to never give up." He looked out at the fleet assembling outside the station. "These Krev have never fought anyone from a Class 12 death world," Hyunjae continued. "They're about to learn what that means." Hana, the weapons specialist, was in the armory checking the equipment. Earth's weapons were different from what most species used. While the galaxy fought with energy beams and plasma torpedoes, humans had developed something else: mass drivers, railguns, kinetic weapons that threw solid metal at incredible speeds. They were old technology made new again, and they were devastating. "All weapons ready, Admiral," Hana reported, "including the special packages." Hyunjae nodded. The special packages were something Earth had been working on in secret. Combat drones with advanced AI, boarding equipment for ship-to-ship combat, things that other species did not think about because they did not fight the way humans fought. The fleet launched 6 hours after the distress call was received. 43 ships carrying 10,000 personnel. They jumped into faster-than-light travel, heading for the Velan system. Inside the Sol's Hammer, Hyunjae stood on the bridge and looked at his crew. They were young, most of them. They had never seen real combat, but they were ready. "We have 72 hours until we arrive," he said over the ship-wide communication system. "When we get there, we'll have less than 24 hours before the Krev start killing civilians. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to show the galaxy what happens when you threaten innocent people in front of humans. We're going to fight, and we're going to win." The crew cheered. It echoed through every ship in the fleet. Far away, on observation ships near the Velan system, other species were watching. They had heard that Earth was coming. They thought it was brave. They also thought it was pointless. Suji, a human scientist working with a council research team, watched the fleet's departure on her monitor. She was worried. She knew her people were brave. But she also knew the Krev were powerful. "Do you think they have a chance?" her Pelthian colleague asked. Suji did not answer right away. She thought about Earth, about the storms and earthquakes, about the predators and diseases, about how humanity learned to survive when everything wanted them dead. "Yes," she finally said, "I think they have more than a chance. I think the Krev are about to learn why Earth is classified as a death world." The fleet raced through space toward the Velan system. Behind them, the galaxy watched and waited. Ahead of them, the Krev were preparing their final attack. The humans were coming. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Velan system. What they saw made even the most experienced officers go silent. Debris floated everywhere. Pieces of stations, ships, and cargo containers drifted in the darkness. Some were still burning. Emergency beacons blinked uselessly, calling for help that had come too late. "Count the enemy ships," Admiral Hyunjae ordered. His voice was steady, but his jaw was tight. Minho worked quickly at his station. 217 hostile vessels, sir. They're arranged in a siege formation around Valen Prime and the two colony worlds. Their weapons are pointed at the planets. Yunjae nodded slowly. He had seen the intelligence reports, but seeing it in person was different. The Krev fleet was massive. Their ships were large and dark, covered in armor plates and weapon ports. "Sir, we're being hailed," Yunji said from the communications station. "Multiple sources. The Krev are demanding we identify ourselves, and we're getting signals from the planet's surface, too." "Put the planet signal through first," Yunjae said. A face appeared on the main screen. It was Counselor Thelm, one of the Valen leaders. His species looked like large insects, with compound eyes and 4 arms. Right now, those eyes were filled with surprise and hope. You actually came?" Thelm said. His voice was shaking. "We sent that distress call not expecting anyone. The council said they needed time. We thought we would die here." "How many people are in shelters?" Yunjae asked. "Nearly 3 billion. We've moved everyone underground, but our shelters won't survive orbital bombardment. When the Krev start firing, we'll have maybe 6 hours before the bunkers fail." "You'll have more than 6 hours," Hyunji said, "because they're not going to fire on your planet. We're going to stop them." Thelm looked at the data showing on his screen. He could see how many human ships there were. He could see how many Krev ships surrounded his world. "There are so many of them," Thelm whispered. "I am grateful you came. But how can 43 ships stop 200? Hyunjae smiled. It was not a nice smile. It was the smile of a predator. "Counselor, my species spent millions of years as prey animals. Then we learned how to hunt. We got very good at it. The Krev are about to learn that lesson." He cut the transmission and turned to his crew. "Battle stations. All ships form up. Weapons hot. Prepare for combat." Across the fleet, alarm klaxons sounded. Thousands of personnel rushed to their positions. Hana powered up the weapon systems. Every railgun, every missile launcher, every drone bay came online. The Krev were sending their own transmission now. Yunji put it through. A large being appeared on screen. He had 4 eyes, gray skin, and wore armor covered in battle honors. This was War Master Krelvan, commander of the Krev Dominion fleet. "Unknown vessels," Krelvan said. His voice was deep and rough. "You have entered a restricted military zone. Identify yourselves immediately or be destroyed." "This is Fleet Admiral Hyunjae of the Terran Defense Fleet," Hyunjae replied. "We are responding to a distress call. You are ordered to withdraw from this system immediately." There was silence. Then Krelvan started laughing. It was a harsh, barking sound. "Terran, you are the humans? The ones from the primitive Class 12 world?" Krelvan looked at something off-screen, then back at Hyunjae. "My intelligence officers tell me your species has been in space for barely 15 years. Your ships use fusion power. Your weapons are kinetic projectiles. This is what the galaxy sends to stop the Krev Dominion? Children with toys?" "This is your only warning," Hyunjae said. His voice was cold now. "Leave this system or we will remove you." Krelvan stopped laughing. "You have 43 ships. I have 217. Your technology is inferior. Your species has no military history in space. You cannot win. I am giving you one chance, human. Take your little fleet and run home. Tell your leaders that the Valen system belongs to the Krev Dominion now." "No," Hyunjae said simply. Krelvan's face changed. He looked angry now. "Then you will die here. All of you. And after we destroy your fleet, we will find your Earth and show you what happens to species that defy the Dominion." "You can try," Hyunjae said. "But first, let me tell you something about my world. Earth has gravity that would crush most of your soldiers. Our atmosphere has oxygen levels that would poison half the species in the galaxy. We have storms that can level cities, earthquakes that split the ground open, predators with claws and teeth that hunted us for millions of years. He leaned forward, his eyes locked on Krelvan's. My species learned how to survive all of that. We learned how to hunt animals bigger and meaner than us. We learned how to fight and win against impossible odds. That's what a Class 12 Death World teaches you. So come on, War Master. Let's see what your Dominion learned on your soft, easy worlds. Hyunjae cut the transmission. Minho, execute Battle Plan Alpha. All ships, engage on my mark. The human fleet began to move. They did not charge straight in like the Krev expected. Instead, they split into 3 groups, each one moving on a different vector. On the observation ships nearby, representatives from other species watched. Suji stood in the monitoring room, her hands pressed against the window. Her Pelthian colleague stood next to her. "Your people are very brave," he said quietly. "But brave is not always enough." "Watch," Suji said. "Just watch." The Krev fleet moved to intercept. Their formation was standard for space combat. Ships in lines, overlapping fields of fire, shields synchronized. It was the way galactic warfare had been fought for thousands of years. But humans did not fight like the galaxy. "Enemy weapons charging," Minho reported. "They're preparing to fire." "Let them fire first," Hyunjae said calmly. "I want them to waste their opening shot." The Krev unleashed a massive barrage. Plasma torpedoes and particle beams raced across space toward the human ships. The weapons hit the Earth vessels' shields and armor. Explosions bloomed across the human formation. Several ships reported damage. One destroyer, the Busan, lost its forward shields completely. "Damage report," Hyunji ordered. "Busan is still operational, sir," Minho reported. "Hull breach on Deck 7, but they're sealing it. Daegu and Ulsan have shield damage, but all weapon systems are green. No ships lost." Krelvan watched from his flagship. The human ships had taken direct hits, but none of them were destroyed. That was unusual. Most species built their ships with advanced shields but weak hulls. The humans seemed to have done the opposite. "Fire again," he ordered. "Concentrate fire on their largest ship." The Krev focused their weapons on the Soul's hammer. The massive dreadnought took dozens of hits. Its shields flickered and failed in several sections, but the Soul's hammer kept coming. "Sir, shields down to 40%, reported the damage control officer. "Noted," Hyunji said. Then he smiled. "Hana, show them what we brought." "Yes, sir. Weapons free. Opening fire." The human fleet unleashed its attack, but it was not what the Krev expected. Railguns fired. Tungsten rods, each weighing several tons, accelerated to incredible speeds. They crossed the distance to the Krev fleet in seconds. The Krev shields tried to stop them. Energy shields were good at dissipating heat and radiation, but solid metal moving at a significant fraction of light speed, that was different. The first tungsten rod hit a Krev cruiser dead center. The shield flickered, absorbed some of the energy, then failed. The rod punched through the armor like paper. It went through the entire ship from bow to stern. The cruiser exploded. 2 more Krev ships died in the next volley. Their shields tried to adapt, but it was too slow. The kinetic weapons were just too different from what they were designed to stop. "What are they doing?" Krelvan shouted. "Those weapons! That's impossible!" His tactical officer was working frantically. "Sir, they're using solid projectile weapons at relativistic speeds. Our shields are not calibrated for this kind of attack." "Then recalibrate them. Now!" But it was already too late. The human fleet had closed the distance. Now Hana unleashed the second surprise. Launch bays opened on every human ship. Thousands of small objects shot out, spreading across space like a swarm of insects. "What are those?" Krelvan demanded. "Combat drones, sir," his officer reported. Small craft, heavily shielded. They're moving in attack formation. But they were not moving like drones. They were moving like predators. The swarm split into hunting packs. They dodged and weaved through space, avoiding the Krev point defense systems. When the Krev tried to target them, they scattered, then reformed and attacked from a different angle. The drones reached the Krev ships and attached to their hulls. Then they exploded. Not random explosions, but precisely placed charges that blew through armor at weak points. Engine sections, weapon ports, shield generators. 3 more Krev ships went dark, their systems failing. Krelvan stared at the tactical display in disbelief. In less than 5 minutes, he had lost 6 ships. The humans had not lost any. "All ships," he commanded, "close formation and concentrate fire. Destroy those drones before they reach more ships." But as the Krev fleet tightened up, the human ships accelerated forward. They were charging straight at the Krev formation. On his bridge, Captain Deho gripped his command chair. The Indomitable was at the front of the charge. "Full speed," he ordered. "Prepare boarding teams. We're going right down their throats." The galaxy had never seen anything like this, and the battle was just beginning. Captain Deho watched the Krev battleship grow larger on his screen. The Indomitable was accelerating directly toward it. Around him, his crew worked with focused intensity. Nobody was panicking. They had trained for this. "Distance to target, 3 kilometers," Minho called out from the tactical station. 2 kilometers, 1 kilometer. "Brace for impact," Deho ordered. The Indomitable hit the Krev battleship at full speed. But Deho had angled his shields forward, turning his ship into a massive battering ram. The collision sent shockwaves through both vessels. Metal screamed, alarms blared, but the Indomitable held together. Human ships were built with redundant systems, compartmentalized hulls, and structural integrity that could survive Earth's crushing gravity. The crash damaged them but did not destroy them. The Krev ship was not as lucky. Its hull crumpled where the Indomitable hit it. Atmosphere vented into space. Internal explosions rippled through its decks. "Launch boarding pods," Deho commanded. Hatches opened along the Indomitable's hull. 20 pods shot out, each one carrying a squad of human marines in powered armor. They slammed into the Krev battleship's damaged hull and burned through the armor with plasma cutters. Sergeant Jiho led the first squad through the breach. His armor's sensors showed him the layout of the Krev ship. He moved forward, his rifle ready. The corridor ahead was dark and filled with smoke. Emergency lighting flickered. Jiho's helmet display switched to infrared vision. He could see heat signatures moving toward them. "Contact front," he said calmly. 12 hostiles at 50 meters. The Krev soldiers came around the corner, firing. Their weapons were energy rifles, bright blue bolts that lit up the corridor. The shots hit Jiho's armor, but the heavy plating absorbed most of the damage. Jiho did not slow down. He raised his rifle and fired back. Human weapons used electromagnetic acceleration to fire solid rounds. They were loud, they were brutal, and they were very effective. The first 3 Krev soldiers went down. The others tried to take cover, but Jiho's squad was already moving forward. They advanced in pairs, covering each other, moving from position to position with practiced efficiency. This was not like galactic warfare. Most species fought from fixed positions, trying to wear down enemy shields with sustained fire. They had formal rules and procedures. Humans fought like they had always fought, fast, aggressive, overwhelming. Within 2 minutes, the corridor was clear. Jiho's squad moved deeper into the ship. "All teams, this is Jiho. We're heading for the command deck. Report status." "Team 2 here. We've secured the engine room," came the reply. "Team 3, we're at the weapons control, shutting down their guns now." Across the battlefield, the same scene was playing out on a dozen Krev vessels. Human boarding teams were cutting through their ships like sharks through water. The Krev were bigger and individually stronger than humans, but humans moved faster. They worked together better. And they had something that could not be taught or downloaded. Millions of years of evolution on a world where every day was a fight for survival. On the bridge of his flagship, War Master Krelvan watched his fleet falling apart. The tactical display showed red icons everywhere, ships damaged, ships boarded, ships destroyed. "How are they doing this?" he shouted. "They're supposed to be primitives." His tactical officer was pale. "Sir, they don't fight like anyone we've ever encountered. They're not trying to win by attrition. They're attacking weak points, boarding our ships, targeting command structures. It's like fighting predators." Krelvan understood predators. His homeworld had them. But they were animals. Simple creatures that could be avoided or killed. These humans were something different. They fought with the instincts of predators, but the intelligence of a technological species. It was terrifying. "All ships, fall back to defensive formation Delta," Krelvan ordered. "Prepare to—" An explosion rocked his flagship. Alarm screamed. "Report!" Krelvan demanded. "Sir, we've been hit by boarding pods. Human Marines are cutting through Deck 9. Krelvan grabbed his weapon. If the humans wanted to board his ship, he would show them what a Krev warrior could do. He headed for the breach point with his personal guard. But when he got there, the fighting was already over. His guards lay on the deck, dead or wounded. A human in powered armor stood in the corridor, rifle pointed at him. It was Captain Deho. He had led his own boarding team personally. "War Master Krelvan," Deho said. His voice came through his helmet speakers. "Tell your fleet to stand down." Krelvan raised his weapon. He was bigger than Deho, stronger. He had been fighting for 40 years. He would not surrender to a human. He fired. The energy bolt hit Deho's armor dead center. The human stumbled back but stayed on his feet. Then Deho moved. He crossed the space between them in 3 long strides. He grabbed Krelvan's weapon and ripped it from his hands with strength, amplified by his powered armor. Then he threw Krelvan against the wall. "I said," Deho repeated, "tell your fleet to stand down." Krelvan looked up at him. For the first time in his life, he felt real fear. This human was not just a soldier. He was something that Krelvan had never truly understood until now. A product of a death world. "You don't understand what you are," Krelvan said quietly. "Your planet. It made you into monsters." "No," Deho replied. "It made us into survivors. There's a difference." He pulled Krelvan to his feet and pushed him toward the bridge. "Now call your ships." Meanwhile, the main battle continued. Admiral Hyunjae had moved the Soul's hammer into the center of the Krev formation. It was taking heavy damage, but it was also dealing massive destruction. "Sir, shields are down to 15%, reported the damage control officer. "We can't take much more." "We don't need much more," Hyunjae replied. "Minho, execute Phase 3. Phase 3 was simple, but brutal. Every human ship that could still move suddenly accelerated. They formed a sphere around a cluster of Krev vessels and opened fire all at once. The concentrated kinetic barrage was overwhelming. 20 Krev ships were destroyed in less than 30 seconds. The survivors tried to scatter, but the human drones were everywhere, harrying them, preventing them from forming up again. "Enemy fleet is breaking formation," Minho reported. "They're trying to retreat." "Don't let them," Hyunjae ordered. "I want every ship that stays in this system disabled or destroyed. If they run, let them go. But they don't get to regroup and try again." Hana unleashed another wave of railgun fire. More Krev ships died. The survivors were running now, their formation completely collapsed. On the Krev flagship, Krelvan stood on his own bridge with Deho's rifle pointed at him. Through the windows, he could see his fleet being torn apart. He had been so confident. The Krev Dominion had conquered 6 systems. They had never lost a major battle. But they had never fought anyone like this. "Open a channel," Krelvan said quietly to his communications officer. "All Krev vessels, this is War Master Krelvan. Cease fire." Stand down your weapons. The battle is over. Across the Krev fleet, ships stopped firing. The surviving vessels, almost 90 of them, powered down their weapons and waited. On Velen Prime, deep in the underground shelters, Counselor Thelm watched the battle on his monitors. He could not believe what he was seeing. The humans had done it. 43 ships against 200. And they had won. "Get me Admiral Hyunjae," Thelm said. His voice was shaking with emotion. "I need to thank him." Hyunjae's face appeared on the screen. He looked tired, but satisfied. "Counselor," Hyunjae said, "your system is secure. The Krev have surrendered. You can start bringing your people back to the surface." "How?" Thelm asked. "How did you do this?" Hyunjae smiled. "We did what humans have always done. We saw something bigger and meaner than us, and we figured out how to beat it anyway. It's what our world taught us." Throughout the galaxy, on hundreds of worlds, billions of beings had been watching the battle. The broadcasts had gone out on all channels. Everyone had seen what happened. The humans, the species that barely anyone had noticed, had just defeated one of the most feared military forces in known space. On the Council research ship, Suji stood staring at the monitor. Her Pelthian colleague sat down heavily. "I don't understand," he said. "The Krev were stronger. They had more ships, better technology." "But they didn't have what we have," Suji replied. "They didn't grow up on a world that tried to kill them every single day. They didn't spend millions of years learning to hunt, learning to fight, learning to never give up." She looked at the image of the human fleet on the screen. Many of the ships were damaged. Some were barely holding together. But they were all still there. "That's what a death world gives you," Suji continued. "Not just strength, but the will to use it. The Krev are learning that now, and the rest of the galaxy is learning it too." The age of humanity had begun. The battlefield was quiet now. Debris floated everywhere. Disabled Krev ships drifted in space, their engines cold and their weapons powered down. Human vessels moved between them, securing prisoners and preventing any attempts to restart hostilities. Admiral Hyunjae stood on the bridge of the Soul's Hammer and surveyed the damage to his fleet. Every ship had taken hits. 3 destroyers were barely functional. The Indomitable looked like it had been through a storm, but they were all still there, and more importantly, they had won. "Casualty report," Hyunjae said quietly. Minho looked at his display. His face was serious. 214 dead, sir. 467 wounded. Most injuries are from the boarding actions." Hyunjae closed his eyes for a moment. 214 people. 214 families who would receive terrible news. But without the fleet's intervention, 3 billion Valen civilians would have died. "Make sure every family is contacted personally," Hyunjae ordered. "I want them to know their loved ones died saving billions of lives." "Yes, sir." On the captured Krev flagship, Captain Daeho was overseeing the prisoner processing. War Master Krelvan sat in his own brig, guarded by human marines. He looked defeated, his 4 eyes staring at nothing. "The Council is demanding access to the Krev commanders," Jiho reported. "They want to conduct war crimes investigations." "They can have him," Daeho said. "But not yet. First, I want to know about the rest of the Dominion. How many more fleets do they have? What other systems are they planning to attack?" Jiho nodded and went to question the prisoners. Meanwhile, Nari, the combat engineer, was leading repair teams across the human fleet. She climbed through the damaged sections of the Daegu, her tools in hand. "This is bad," said one of her team members, looking at a massive hull breach. "We'll need to get to a proper shipyard to fix this." "No time for that," Nari replied. She examined the damage, her mind already working on solutions. "We can patch it. Use the hull plating from the damaged Krev cruiser we captured. Their armor is different, but we can make it work." That will take days, the team member protested. Then we'd better get started, Nari said with a smile. Cut the plating into sections and bring it here. I'll show you how to adapt it. This was what amazed the other species watching. Most races needed specialized facilities and months of planning to integrate alien technology. Humans just looked at a problem and found a way to solve it. Right now. With whatever materials were available. On Velan Prime, people were starting to emerge from the shelters. They looked up at the sky with tears in their eyes. They had thought they would die, but the humans had come, and they had saved them. Counselor Thelm walked among his people, trying to organize the return to normal life, but he kept looking up at the stars, where the human fleet was still working. They came for us, he said to his aide. We're not even the same species. We had nothing to offer them, but they came anyway. That's what they said humans do, the aide replied. Help people who need help. Up in orbit, Hyunjae received a communication from the Galactic Council. He almost groaned. He knew what was coming. Jisu's face appeared on the screen. She looked tired, but happy. The Council is in chaos, she reported. Half of them want to give you medals. The other half are upset that you didn't wait for authorization. We didn't have time to wait, Hyunji replied. 3 billion people would be dead. I know, and most of the council knows that too, even if they won't admit it publicly. But Hyunjae, this changes everything. You just proved that a Deathworld species can dominate in military conflict. Every species is re-evaluating their relationship with Earth. Good, Hyunjae said. Maybe next time someone sends a distress call, the council will actually do something instead of talking about it. Jisoo smiled. Maybe. But you need to know something else. The Krev Dominion is bigger than we thought. They have at least 3 more fleets out there, and now that you've defeated one of them, they're going to come looking for revenge. Let them come, Hyunji said. We'll be ready. He ended the transmission and turned to Minho. What's the status of the captured Krev ships? We've secured 67 vessels, sir. The rest were destroyed or managed to escape before we could disable them. The captured ships are intact, and we're beginning to study their technology. How soon can we get them operational with human crews? Minho looked surprised. You want to use Crave ships? Why not? They're here. They're functional. And if we can figure out how they work, we can use them to defend other systems. We can't be everywhere at once with just 43 ships. It was a bold idea. Most species would spend years studying captured technology in laboratories. Humans wanted to use it immediately. Over the next few days, human engineers swarmed over the Krev vessels. They took apart systems, figured out how they worked, and started adapting them. Nari led one of the teams, her hands covered in grease and her mind working constantly. Their shield generators are more advanced than ours, she explained to Hyunjae during a briefing. But they're also more fragile. They put all their power into deflecting energy weapons. That's why our kinetic weapons cut through them so easily. Can we improve our shields using their technology? Hyunjae asked. Already working on it, Nari replied with a grin. Give me a week and I'll have prototypes installed on 3 ships. Hyunjae shook his head in amazement. A week? Most species would need months. Meanwhile, Sergeant Jiho was training Velan volunteers who wanted to defend their own system. The Valans were not natural warriors, but they were determined. Keep your weapons steady, Jiho instructed. Don't close your eyes when you fire, and remember, in combat, hesitation will get you killed. The Velan trainees practiced with the captured Krev weapons. They were clumsy at first, but they learned quickly. Jiho was impressed. Maybe all species had it in them to fight when they needed to. They just needed someone to show them how. Back on the Council research ship, Suji was writing her report. She had watched the entire battle and its aftermath. Now she was trying to explain to the galaxy what had happened. Humans don't just adapt to challenges, she wrote. They seek them out. Their entire history is one of confronting impossible obstacles and finding ways to overcome them. This is not recklessness. It's a survival strategy refined over millions of years on a world that gave them no choice but to be excellent or die. She paused and looked out at the human fleet. They were still working, still repairing, still preparing for whatever came next. Other species wonder why humans are so aggressive, she continued typing. But it's not aggression. It's proactivity. When humans see a problem, they don't wait for it to go away. They attack it. When they see someone in danger, they don't form committees. They act. This is what a death world teaches, and this is what makes them so formidable. Her report would be read by billions across the galaxy. It would change how people thought about Earth and humanity. 3 days after the battle, the human fleet prepared to depart. The Valen system was secure. Council forces were finally arriving to help with reconstruction. The Krev prisoners were being transferred to Council custody for trial. Counselor Thelm came up to orbit one last time to say goodbye. He met with Admiral Hyunjae in person. "I don't know how to thank you," Thelm said. "You saved my entire species, 3 billion lives." Hyunjae shook his head. "We did what anyone should do. We heard someone calling for help. We came." "But you didn't have to," Thelm insisted. "You could have stayed home, stayed safe." "That's not who we are," Hyunjae replied simply. "On Earth we have a saying, we're all in this together. When you're from a world that's always trying to kill you, you learn that helping each other is the only way to survive." As the human fleet prepared to jump back to Earth, they left behind something important. Not just saved lives, but a new understanding. The galaxy had always seen Deathworld species as unfortunate, as victims of their harsh environments. Now they understood the truth. Deathworlds didn't create victims. They created survivors, and survivors, when given the tools and opportunity, could do incredible things. The Soul's hammer and its fleet jumped to faster-than-light travel, heading home. Behind them, the Valen people looked up at the stars with hope, and across the galaxy, other species wondered what would happen when more Deathworld species joined the humans. The universe was about to find out. Terra Station was crowded when the fleet returned. Thousands of people had gathered to welcome the ships home. Families waited anxiously for their loved ones. News crews from across Earth broadcast the arrival to billions watching below on the planet. The Soul's hammer docked first, its hull scarred with burns and impact craters. Admiral Hyunjae walked off the ship and was immediately surrounded by officials and reporters. He waved them away politely. "Later," he said. "Right now, I need to meet with the families of those who didn't come home." He spent the next 6 hours visiting with the families of the fallen. It was the hardest thing he had ever done. Each conversation broke his heart a little more. But he owed them this. He looked each person in the eye and told them personally that their loved one had died, protecting 3 billion innocent lives. Later that evening, he stood at the memorial wall where the names of the dead were being engraved. Captain Daeho stood beside him, along with Minho, Hana, Jiho, and the other officers who had led the battle. "They were heroes," Daeho said quietly. "Every one of them." "They were," Hyunjae agreed. "And the galaxy needs to remember that. Not just what we did, but what it cost." On the Galactic Council station, Jisoo was preparing for the most important speech of her life. The council had called an emergency session. Every species in the galaxy was watching. What Earth did next would shape interstellar politics for generations. She walked into the great chamber. The buzz of conversation stopped as she approached the speaker's platform. Hundreds of eyes from dozens of different species watched her. "Representatives of the Galactic Council," Jisoo began. 5 days ago, Earth received a distress call from the Valen system. We mobilized our fleet and responded within hours. The Council was still debating authorization procedures when we arrived at the system. There were some uncomfortable murmurs from the other representatives. Jisoo ignored them and continued. We faced a Krev Dominion fleet more than 5 times our size. We won. We lost 214 personnel, but we saved 3 billion Velen civilians, and we captured or destroyed 160 Krev warships. She paused and looked around the chamber. I'm not telling you this to brag. I'm telling you this because the galaxy needs to understand something. When people are in danger, Earth will respond. We don't care about authorization procedures or political complications. We care about saving lives. That's all very noble, said the Pelthian ambassador, standing up. But Representative Jisoo, you cannot simply ignore council protocols. What if every species decided to act independently? We would have chaos. What we have now is worse than chaos, Jisoo replied. We have a system where 3 billion people almost died because everyone was following procedures. Earth is proposing a new framework, a rapid response force that can deploy immediately to any emergency. No debates, no delays, just action. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some species supported the idea enthusiastically. Others were horrified at the thought of bypassing established procedures. The Andrelian representative raised his hand for silence. And I suppose Earth expects to lead this rapid response force? No, Jisoo said. We expect to be part of it, along with any other species willing to put lives before politics. We're calling it the Deathworlder Alliance. Any species from a high classification world is welcome to join. Together we can protect the galaxy. Back on Earth, in a small office at Terra Station, Suji was reviewing applications. Her report about the battle had spread across the galaxy. Now, species from harsh worlds were reaching out, wanting to learn more about humanity, wanting to join this new alliance. There were representatives from Kronok, a high-gravity world where the people had evolved in crushing pressure. From Velsen, a planet with violent storms and aggressive predators. From Thesh, a frozen world where survival meant constant struggle. All of them had been overlooked by the galaxy, seen as primitive or disadvantaged because of their harsh environments. Now they saw what Earth had proven. A harsh world didn't create weakness. It created strength. We have 12 species seriously interested in joining, Suji reported to Hyunjae during their meeting. Each one has unique capabilities. The Kronaks are incredibly strong. The Velsens are natural pilots, used to flying in terrible weather. The Thesh are experts at survival in extreme conditions. Hyunjae nodded slowly. Can we train them in our combat tactics? Better than that, Suji said with a smile. We can learn from their tactics too. Every harsh world teaches different lessons. If we combine what we all know, we'll be unstoppable. 6 months after the Battle of Valen, the Deathworlder Alliance held its first official meeting. 23 species had joined, each one bringing ships and personnel. Earth provided the command structure and training facilities. Admiral Hyunjae stood before the assembled commanders. They were a strange sight. Kronaks in their heavy armor, Velsens with their 4 arms and flying membranes, Thesh covered in thick fur, and humans, looking small compared to some of the others, but standing proud. Welcome to the Alliance, Hyunjae said. We're here for one purpose, to protect the innocent, to respond when others can't or won't, to show the galaxy that harsh worlds don't create victims. They create protectors. The commanders cheered in their various ways. Roars, clicks, and shouts filled the hall. Meanwhile, the Galactic Council was changing. Slowly, reluctantly, but changing. The old guard who valued procedure over action found themselves being voted out. New representatives took their places, ones who understood that the galaxy needed to be able to act quickly in emergencies. The Pelthian ambassador, who had initially doubted Earth, approached Jisoo privately. I was wrong about your species, he admitted. I saw your harsh world and thought you were unfortunate. I didn't understand that it made you strong. It's not just strength, Jisoo replied. It's perspective. When you've fought for survival every day of your life, you understand how precious life is. You don't waste time with politics when lives are at stake. The ambassador nodded thoughtfully. My world is gentle. We have no predators, no extreme weather. We've been safe for millions of years. Perhaps we've forgotten what it means to truly fight for something. It's not too late to remember, Jisoo said. In the Krev Dominion's territory, the remaining War Master commanders were holding their own meeting. The loss of one of their fleets had shaken them. For the first time in their history, they were afraid. The humans destroyed Krelvan's entire fleet, one commander said, and they did it with inferior technology. Not inferior, another replied. Different. They fight in ways we never imagined. They don't follow the standard tactics. They improvise. They adapt. They never give up. Then what do we do? Asked a third commander. The senior war master sat quietly for a long time. Finally, he spoke. We leave human space alone, and we tell every other aggressive species in the galaxy to do the same. The humans call their world a death world. Now we understand why. It made them into something we cannot defeat. The warning spread. Species that had been considering expansion toward human space changed their plans. Pirates avoided human trade routes. The Krev Dominion signed a non-aggression treaty with Earth. 1 year after the Battle of Velan, Captain Deho stood on the bridge of a new ship. The Indomitable had been rebuilt and upgraded with captured Krev technology and improved human weapons. It was now twice as powerful as before. Captain, Yunji called from communications. We're receiving a distress signal. It's from the Pelthian system. They're under attack by raiders. Deho smiled. The Pelthians, who had once doubted Earth, were now calling for help, and Earth would answer. Set course for the Pelthian system, he ordered. Maximum speed. Let's show them what the Alliance can do. The Indomitable jumped to faster-than-light travel. Behind it, 10 other ships from the Deathworlder Alliance followed. Kronax, Velsons, Thesh, and humans working together. At Terra Station, Admiral Hyunjae watched them go. More ships were being built. More species were joining the Alliance. Earth had spent 15 years being ignored or dismissed by the galaxy. Now they were its protectors. Minho approached with a report. Sir, we're detecting increased activity in deep space. Multiple distress calls from previously unknown systems. It seems that news of the Alliance has spread. People who never had hope before are calling for help now. Then we'll answer, Hyunjae said simply. That's what we do. Hana joined them, looking at the star map showing all the distress calls. There are so many. We can't be everywhere at once. Not yet, Hyunjae agreed. But we're growing. Every month more Deathworld species join us. Every month we build more ships. Eventually, we'll have enough. He pointed at the star map. The galaxy spent millions of years thinking harsh worlds were a disadvantage. They were wrong. Harsh worlds create survivors, and survivors, when given the chance, become heroes. Across the galaxy, on worlds both gentle and harsh, people looked up at the stars with new hope. Help was coming. The Deathworlders were coming. And when they arrived, they would show the universe what humanity had always known. That the strong should protect the weak. That no one should face danger alone. That when someone calls for help, you answer. The age of the Deathworlders had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. Years later, children across hundreds of worlds would hear stories about the humans who came from Earth, about how they heard a distress call and risked everything to save strangers, about how they proved that harsh worlds created not victims, but heroes. And those children would look up at the stars and know that somewhere out there, the Deathworlders were watching, ready to help, ready to fight, ready to show the universe what it meant to survive, to thrive, and to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. The message Earth sent to the galaxy was clear and simple. It would echo across space for generations. "We heard your call. We're on our way. Hold on."